Well, if you've been with us here for the hour, we've been talking all things politics. And, you know, I've been joined by our friend here, Dr. John Weil from MTSU. And, you know, we talked a lot of things in terms of Mar-a-Lago, the FBI raid or FBI search out there. But I did want to also make time for what we've been calling the Inflation Reduction Bill. But, you know, it encompasses a lot of different things: climate change, healthcare, tax bill. If you can just kind of sum up, you know, what this bill is all about for us.
Well, I guess the most significant thing about it is it actually got adopted. You know, I've been among those who say, you know, we have sort of a do-nothing Congress, our system is broken, we never get something done. And part of it is this bill was able to sail under the filibuster requirement. So they were able to pass it with 50, I guess it was actually 51 votes. Vice President Harris voted in the Senate to do the tie, but it shows things can get done. It's the most consequential bill that was ever been adopted and related to climate change. It has all kinds of incentives for buying electric cars and for companies that invest in, you know, chip industry and companies that invest in, you know, wind and solar and that sort of thing. As you say, there's a healthcare component to it. It's one of the few bills in recent history where there is apparently enough money in new taxes on businesses, which the Republicans don't particularly like, but there's enough new taxes basically to offset the expenditures. And in a sense there, Democrats are appealing to something that Republicans usually like, which is, you know, some kind of fiscal equality or fiscal accountability. So I think it's a pretty interesting achievement. It'll be harder to say the Democrats haven't, you know, Trump did a lot and the Democrats haven't done anything. It's fairly consequential.
And, you know, this is, I believe I saw a tweet from former President Barack Obama when he said this is a big, you know, blank deal.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
You know, and I believe President Biden followed up by saying, you know, thank you, but this is, you know, in terms of what it means for climate change. You know, I believe the hope is that we're talking a 40% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions just because of a bill like this. I mean, talk to us a little bit about how that actually translates, you know, in terms of going from paper to reality.
Well, I'll caution that figure, I think, doesn't actually date from today's date, but it dates from like 2005. So it's sort of a running total. But, you know, I think what has happened this summer is I think a lot of people who weren't quite sure about climate change have become a bit more convinced. You know, it seems we've had a lot of wildfires, we've had a lot of flash floods, and we've had weeks where every successive week there's been a flood or a fire that's supposed to be a 500-year or 1,000-year event. And I think, you know, people are more concerned than they were, you know, many years ago. So this is something Democrats are hoping to run on. Again, not a single Republican voted for it. So, you know, if they do in fact regain the House, probably it's the last thing that's going to happen on this front in the next 2 years.
Dr. Weil, always a pleasure. You know, we have anytime we get, you know, an opportunity to talk, it always seems like there's something big happening in politics. And of course, this past week, it's one thing after another.
Yeah. It's not my fault, okay?
See, you say that, but I mean, history proves otherwise. But I want to thank you so much for making the time to speak with us. And I know we had a couple of callers, you know, who called in too. I want to thank those folks for, you know, for being a part of this dialogue, because I think this is really important. Anytime we have a chance to talk, you know, even politics, which not everyone's favorite, but, you know, it's still important.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much again. And, you know, we'll head to break. We'll be right back.